Move it that way. Sounds like a nice candid intro. Stephen Sewell, you are a very well-known playwright, screenwriter, and currently head of writing for performance here at NIDA. I want to start. When did you first decide that you wanted to be a writer?
Well, it's a long time ago. I've been writing now for 40 years, involved in theatre for 40 years. So I've gone through a lot of transformations in the course of that. But where it started, I suppose, was when I was about 12 or 13. And I read George Orwell's 1984, and thought I love the power and the ability of a writer to transform a person, you know, to take them on a journey. So that was the beginning of my interest. And eventually I fell into the company of a bunch of theatre people who knew that I was interested in writing and asked me to write something for them. So I wrote for them. I acted in one of the plays. It was sort of like a mini initiation into the life of theatre, and it was such fun, and they were such wonderful people that I basically never looked back.
Yeah. It's really funny, actually, you mentioned 1984, because in reading a lot of your work in the last few weeks, and we watched Embedded last night, your recent feature film.
Oh, yeah.
I do feel there's a lot of those themes of 1984 continue to be in your work, and a lot of your work seems to me very political. Is that still very important with your work?
I'm particularly interested in politics, but I think more to the point. I think drama is quintessentially, or theatrical drama anyhow, is quintessentially a political medium. And I suppose I don't mean political in a political partisan kind of way. I'm not talking about it, that drama or my drama is left-wing or communist, but the drama that I'm interested in, why I'm sort of, you know, what theatre is about and what drama in general is about is conflict between human beings. And conflict between human beings inevitably is about power. And power is, of course, the substance of politics. So as soon as you've got two people on stage, you know, you've got a political situation. And the permutations of power and the way power is negotiated. So yes, I am political, but it's the nature of the material itself that's political.
So on that, when you're writing a play, does it often come out of seeing something that's happened in the real world and then going, fuck, I need to write about that? Or is it going, does it usually start more in a domestic sense and it becomes political out of that? Well,
recently I was in the UK. You know, part of the thing that we do at NIDA, we take I take the writers to the Edinburgh Festival, and when I was travelling over there, I pulled out a book of poems by Ted Hughes, Hawk in the Rain, and I bought that book many years ago, and I've kind of gone in and out of the book over time, but I thought, no, I want to read this. I want from beginning to end. So on the plane I did, and doing that made me fall in love with his writing and his poetry. So then that reignited my interest in Plath, Sylvia Plath. And so I started forming this idea of, I'm trying to explain to you, I suppose, of how it happens with me. That the conflict that resulted in the disaster of their lives contains within it a conflict about masculinity. Like, I think Ted Hughes is probably a monster. an incredible monster and a monster that one would fall in love with, but a monster nevertheless, and a monster like me, i.e. a man. So I was kind of thinking about it in those terms, and then coincidentally, in London there was a painting exhibition about of Picasso called Picasso 1932, and it was about the collapse of his marriage and his falling in love with a 17-year-old model. So again, I'm kind of going, wow, this is incredible. This man, Picasso, whose work everyone loves, of course, because of its liveliness and vivacity, that he also was this terrible human being, ghastly human being. And it started to really worry me because, like I come from I've sort of entered the world in some sort of mature way through feminism, the feminism of people who are around me who are contesting my masculinity and stuff. So I had a kind of an appreciation of the feminist position and as it relates to men, right? But contemplating these two men, Ted Hughes and Pablo Picasso, I thought, oh my God, the women might be right. We're actually monsters. So I'm kind of moving towards now writing a play, using his dedication in Hawk in the Rain. And Hawk in the Rain is dedicated, or the dedication is for Sylvia. So I'm going to write a play called For Sylvia about Ted Hughes and Sylvia Plath that is going to be about my masculinity and me struggling with the idea that I'm a monster. Do you see where I'm going?
Yeah. But this but really it's saying that the inspiration kind of hits randomly, really, but then it forms in a kind of
yes, a accretion of details.
Yeah. And is that normally the way that it comes, that it is sort of random or almost, I'm trying not to say God-given or spiritual in some ways, but so many writers talk about this idea that they sort of write themselves when you start writing plays, and obviously you read that poem and then it sort of led to what will now be a play.
Yeah.
Is it normally like that it comes out easily, or do you fight with the process, when you have to sit down and write a play?
No, no. Writing is the joy. I love writing, and it's excuse me, I find it quite easy to do now. The reason why is because, like, for many years, I suppose, I was a very kind of intellectual person. Perhaps not a very smart person, but very kind of thoughtful. I'd try and think my way through things, but my thinking got me to the point where what I thought was the only rational thing to do was to commit suicide. And so the next thought was, if where your thinking has got you is to think that the only thing to do is to kill yourself, there's got to be something wrong with your thinking. So at that point, I kind of abandoned the idea of, not completely the idea of rational thought. Obviously, rational thought is if you want to get from here to the bus stop, you need to engage with rational thought at some point. But I think I'm kind of coming. I've sort of stepped closer to the idea of David Hume's that that it is a tool. Rationality is a tool. The intellect is a tool, but that's not the source of our creativity, of our passions, of our power. Where those passions come from are, well, what I would say now, in the unconscious. So for me, the process of becoming a writer has been a process of abandoning rationality and immersing myself more in the irrational.